All right, so I guess to start off with, let's take a look at the helmet. So this, obviously, is not a DEVGRU helmet. I say obviously, it's obvious to me and probably a lot of you out there, but this is a LBH. This is not a DEVGRU AOR-1 Maritime. This is a light ballistic helmet, and this was the helmet developed for vanilla NSW. It still had the AOR-1 pattern, but you can immediately tell because of two things. One, the rails are this kind of interesting tannish cream color, and then the AOR-1 pattern runs horizontally as opposed to vertically. So the AOR-1 Maritime, the pattern on the helmet runs vertically like this. If you're looking at these kind of digital thingies, these would be flipped over and they would run across the helmet this way. The LBH, the pattern runs across horizontally. It also has this different Velcro, and this is where you start to see the Velcro cutouts like you would see on the FTHS now. The LBH had these cutouts in it to try and help reduce the IR signature. And the other anachronistic part, obviously, at the front of a DEVGRU Maritime, you would have an L4G19, which is a MBG arm and mount combo. So it's something that would not be quick detach like this L4G24 on the Wilcox on the OpsCore skeleton mount. It would be a combined mount shroud combo as opposed to something that was two pieces. The nods as well are painted, but you know, they're quad nods. We all know I can't afford quad nods, so that's where you got that. The IR flag is correct, and then the patch on the side is also correct. You would see DEVGRU using kind of the AOR-1, AOR-2 multicam covers on their patches to kind of blend in a little more to the helmet so you don't have this giant black thing on the side of your helmet. I'm also seeing a MPLS light on the side. This is not exactly an MPLS. I have one on the UKSF helmet build, and I didn't swap it over for this, but you would see this on a vanilla NSW helmet. This is obviously very wrong for a DEVGRU helmet, but it fit the purposes for what I was trying to go for aesthetically at the beginning of the video, and so that's why I chose to run with it. I also don't have an AOR-1 Maritime. Now, to take a look at our plate carrier setup. This is a NCPC. This is different than a regular Cry CPC, cage plate carrier, because the NCPC had just a skeleton cummerbund running over the side of the harness. The skeleton cummerbund was kind of supposed to help shed water a little bit because you're doing waterborne operations. You got the NCPC as the base. On the front, we've got a Eagle Industries admin panel in AOR-1. The side, two pistol mag pouches in AOR-1 as well. These are both great for 226 mags, but they do not fit my Glock mags because these are Kydex inserts built in, so I would have to go in and mod the Kydex inserts if I wanted to get them to fit a Glock magazine, hence why they are empty. The PTT is correct. This would be a U94, the regular version U94. However, it is not correctly mounted to the radio because you would have a 10-pin prick 148 as opposed to a 6-pin, which is what this is. And so the 148 and the U94 are correct, but they are not the correct model. It should be a 10-pin connector and a 10-pin receiver on the radio. This is also not correct. This is a cattails antenna that I rerouted to the back. You do see a lot of antenna rerouting. However, it would have been an antenna rerouting or relocation cable that would change that big old whip antenna that you see right here onto the back and simply route it back there so you didn't have the thing whipping around in your face. On the back, we also have an LBT hydration pouch, thermal hydration pouch. This is the LBT 1924A 330D-T. So these are fun. I like this one. I can throw like a hydro carrier or something in there if I wanted to. And it's just a nice little bit of extra pouching in the back. DEVGRU, because they are doing mostly direct action, on the side I have a smoke grenade pouch, Eagle Industries as well, and then an Eagle Industries frag pouch. All of these pouches are from about 2007, I think, in terms of their date of manufacture. So this would have been something that would have been on a DEVGRU plate carrier. One thing I might add would be a general purpose pouch, but DEVGRU is generally doing, direct action. So you're trying to get in quick, be there not very long, and then get out. So I could see not having a general purpose pouch on here, although probably I should add it if I wanted to be uber specific. But in terms of how accurate this kit is, this is fairly accurate. Now onto the RECCE kit. This one is a lot more inaccurate. So on the side, if you also notice, I did not have a tourniquet on this. On the side, we've got the SOF TQ tourniquet. This is a great tourniquet developed for SOF. This is better than a general cat tourniquet. If you can get one, get one. They're definitely worth the money. On the side, we've got a LBT general purpose 100 round NVG whatever pouch. You can carry just general things in it if you want. Generally, I would carry Skittles. Skittles are worth their weight in gold. On the front, just that regular built-in magazine carrier with your e-mags. So that is something that you would have seen. And then on the side, this is a Crye 330D M4 pouch, which I shoved the radio into because I did not have the proper LBT radio pouch. So this is wrong. This is also a replica. This is not an actual Crye 330D. Don't worry, I'm definitely not that rich. And this should be a radio pouch, but for the purposes of what I had today, it works fine. This also should be, like I said over there, it should be a Prick 148 10 pin as opposed to a 6 pin. And then this Thales push to talk mic. You would have seen this, but what you would have seen with this is a in-ear earpiece, right? Or more likely what you would have seen as opposed to a push to talk hand mic, you would have seen the Atlantic Signals bone phones conductors. So it sits right here. It has a little earpiece that routes up into your ear. You've also probably, you would see a regular whip antenna, but it's a radio. This whole setup is kind of anachronistic to what DEVGRU would have been running, and it was really only there for the purposes of the video to give me a radio setup. There's also the, come on you, LBT Low Pro chest rig. This is what DEVGRU would have been using. You saw it more often with in AOR 1 as opposed to multicam, but you would have seen it in multicam, and often you would have seen it paired with an LBT 6094 slick rig to allow this to sit right on top, so you still have ballistic protection while also being able to quickly don and doff your ammunition. The boonie, of course, is wrong. This is a Marpat boonie. It should be an AOR 1, Digi 3, Digi 2, boonie, AOR 1, AOR 2. But it works for the purposes of being out there in the woods. Now, I did not have any gloves on during the RECCE one. I probably should have. If I was to have gloves, I would have needed some of the, let's see, what the gen kit we were going for. It's kind of a mishmash of things, so I would have gone for mechanics gloves. I have some right here. Now, these are mechanics impact gloves. These would not have been around. You would have wanted just kind of the regular mechanics gloves without the rubber on the side. You can find them every so once in a while on eBay, the old gen gloves, but they do get snapped up pretty quick by collectors. These were never developed for SOF. These were developed for her mechanics to have gloves while they work on, cars and equipment and stuff like that. But SOF realized that they are really durable, exceptionally well-made gloves, and so they would work great for their application, and a lot of them picked them up and began using them. For the belt setup for the RECCE kit, probably should have had a multicam or AOR 2 9022B for the med pouch, and then probably needed a pistol. I unfortunately did not have a 226 lying around. I do still have a 226 holster. I do not have a 226 pistol, so I decided to just leave the pistol off. In terms of the uniform, I am wearing the appropriate top. That is a Crye NC combat top in AOR 2. However, the pants are Patagonia L9 combat pants. That's the Gen 2 model. And those are inaccurate. It should be Crye NC field cut pants or Crye NC combat pants, preferably in AOR 2 because we're in the woods. In terms of the kit for the direct action ones, I am wearing the appropriate shirt again, Crye NC AOR 1 combat shirt. However, the pants again are Patagonia L9 combat pants, and they need to be Crye NC combat pants with Gen 2 pads. The belt is correct. It is a red label LBT riggers belt in AOR 1. In both instances, it kind of could be correct, although if I was doing a recce thing, I would want everything on my kit to kind of be more of a uniform color so that it doesn't all stand out, one piece doesn't stand out, and I get noticed because I had a really bright belt on a really dull, rest of my kit. And so I probably should have swapped that out for the black LBT belt, but I was wearing the AOR 1 at the time, so that is that. In terms of med pouch, that is the correct med pouch for the Assaulter kit in AOR 1, and then the Gerber multi-tool is also the appropriate multi-tool. The carabiners on either side, you can go kind of with any carabiner, but if you are trying to go with the carabiner, generally go with something that is climb rated so that it can support a lot of weight, or try and find something that is incredibly, dull and low profile, dull color and low profile, so it doesn't stand out too much in your kit because you're basically using it just to clip more things to you. I did also have the chem lights on the Assaulter's kit. That is a correct thing to have, although you would have probably seen more IR chem lights as opposed to general purpose chem lights only, and I did not have any IR chem lights, so that's why you only see the general purpose ones. Then the holster for the Assaulter kit is incorrect. It should just be a 226 holster as opposed to the 6094 on the low ride mount. But everyone, if you got, all of those pieces on those videos and noticed, by all means, go leave it in the comments on those shorts, or leave it in the comments here and tell me that I'm a terrible impressionist and have no reason for doing any of this, and I will read your comment and feel very sad at the end. But everyone, thank you so very much for joining me. This is just a quick overview of those kits, nothing really spectacular or special. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will see y'all next time.